and welcome to Total War Warhammer 2. Today we'll do something a little bit special. I'll talk about some of the units in the game and the overall roster of the factions. Today we'll start with the Empire, which basically is the basic human faction. And keep in mind that all what I'm about to talk about that all what I'm about to talk about, well, that sounds shitty, is based on my own personal experience and opinions. So if you disagree, feel free to comment and correct me if I say something wrong or something that may agitate you. So yeah, feel free to leave that in the comments. Which I'm pointing on right now, but you can't see. Well, I'm pointing upwards, but, well, forget it. Instead of starting with the lords and the legendary lords, I'll start with the infantry line. And the missile infantry. I'll try to keep it short. Last time I tried to talk about it, I was talking for about 2 hours, and I'm not especially fond to have to upload a 2-hour long video. It takes me forever, and I kinda want to do something on that day, so yeah, I'll try to keep it short. So enough with these introductions, let's start. For the infantry line, you have to say they have a basic moral, a mediocre moral, but they also have special units which are unbreakable, like Sigma Suns or the Tattersouls, as well as the basic Flagellant line, which gets a buff when they are losing in melee. So if they are weaker at the end of the battle, they still get some holding power. And also they will fight till they die, since they are unbreakable. Same goes for the Flagellant, which are a bit stronger. For the basic line, I usually see spearmen, and I usually use spearmen since they have need melee defense, an okayish leadership, and light armor. But shields, I usually prefer to bring the shielded version, unless I'm short of a few hundred or something. Then I bring the normal spearmen, since they only have 8 defense skill less, and yeah. Then the missing missile resistance of 35%. The basic swordsmen I usually tend to bring not too often, since their weapon strength is kind of low and their melee stats are okayish, but if I want to have an offensive infantry, I'll bring some other troops, especially for the Empire, which has a quite good amount of cavalry at hand. Also a good amount of diverse ranged troops. Yeah. Then for the next unit we have the halberdiers. If I'm not bringing spearmen, I usually bring halberdiers, since they are a bit better against armored cav, and also are a bit more defensive than the basic spearmen. But you have to remind yourself, they only have 30 armor and no missile resistance, so archers will deal quite a beating to them. Yeah. For Sigma Suns, they are basically better swordsmen. They are the swordsmen you usually see quite often, since they are also unbreakable, and usually that kicks it over the edge for the most people to bring them. So yeah, also another really strong holding force. The thing is, why the Flagellants hold a bit better than well, the Tattersouls especially, since they have a few more models and a few more hit points, but not a few more hit points per model, I suppose. I didn't try to go through it, but I guess that matches. Yeah. And for the greatswords, you have the basic lighter heavy infantry of the Empire. They don't have really heavier infantry, but with 59 armor they are quite heavy in the infantry category. Stat-wise they are okayish, like the swordsmen, but they have a way higher attack strength and a way higher armor piercing damage, as well as a bit of a bonus against infantry. Also their charge bonus is higher. by a minimal amount, but they are slower since they are heavy infantry. So you have to keep that in mind. Now for the ranged infantry we have the Free Company Militia, which has vanguard deployment, so if you want to, for example, snipe enemy artillery and don't want to rely on outriders, which also have vanguard deployment, but have some troops that also can, well, deal with artillery crews quite okayish, and other ranged troops in melee, but also can shoot down other troops, and are kind of fast for infantry and really cheap in comparison. They might be your choice, but you usually don't see them too often since their melee stats still can't hold up to basic melee infantry. Well, I may bring them against other spearmen, but that's a personal preference and would be kind of a silly build, and if your enemy brings great swords you are kinda, well, fucked. Also they have 90 units, so that makes a bit up for their low missile damage, but still they won't do good against armor, as it says. Then for the crossbowmen, they have a higher range than the Free Company Militia and the handgunners, but are a bit cheaper than the handgunners, but have no armor piercing, so they are mainly for ranged support, and they have arc fire, so they can shoot over your troops and focus down infantry if you want to. For the handgunners, they are the armor piercing ranged unit of the Empire, but they need a straight line of fire, and with that their line of sight may be blocked if you position them in the wrong position, and downhill battles might be your friend, but uphill battles may also be, but battles on the top of a hill are basically your worst enemy. But they can shoot down bigger monsters, armored bigger monsters, like the lizardmen bring, or anything that flies over your army can be shot down by them. For Stolen's Revenge, they have quite good melee stats, since they are a special unit. How is they called again? Of renown, whatever. They also come with stalks, so they are a bit more sneaky than the basic Free Company Militia, but are at the same speed. They have a bit higher melee missile damage and are also armor piercing, which really speaks into their favor. Do they also have more armor? No, they don't. Then we have the Silver Bullets, also a stalking unit, but without vanguard deployment, so they can be quite nasty as fire support from the flanks or something, but also make a pretty good basic ranged support troop for your main army. But they are gunners like the Stolen's Revenge and the Free Company Militia, so they need a straight line of sight to the target. But they not only come with armor piercing damage, but also with magic damage, so they are probably not as good against the dwarves, unless you fight Clan Angrand, who might bring their clan elders and the spirits, or some other units which have physical resistance, like savage orcs, or how are they called again? The tree spirits. I think the tree spirits also have physical resistance, but no magical resistance. Yeah, that's what they're good for. Also, they can focus down the heroes with the physical save abilities or something. Then for the cavalry, most of the basic cavalry, except the missile cavalry of the Empire, is heavily armored. From 100 armor up to 125, I guess. Yep, while the Empire Knights are the basic sheep heavy shock cav, which are what they are, a sheep heavy shock cav. So you charge them in, you charge them out, and still, even under fire, they can hold some time, and against lighter cavalry with no armor piercing, they even might come out on top. For the Reichsguard, we have an even heavily armored cavalry by 10 points, with a bit better stats, also offensive-wise, So they're basically the elite version of the Empire Knights. Yeah. For the Knights of the Blazing Sun, the special thing about them is that they have flame damage, are a bit less armored than Empire Knights, and a bit more offensive, I guess. So they are the light heavy shock half of the Empire, basically. But don't forget they have flaming attacks and magic resistance, so if you think you might go against tree spirits, they might be your choice. Or against another faction with a lot of magic attacks. Like what else? Huh, that's not another faction, damn it. Then for Sindler's Reichsguard, that's basically the elite version of the Reichsguard, but with immune to psychology, which usually don't affect cavalry too much. I mean, if they're caught in melee by halberd infantry, they most likely will die pretty much and then rout due to losses, but if they're usually not caught by terror monsters or something and rout because of that, and if they are caught, you kinda want them to rout, not off the field, but want to have them away from the main engagement. Yeah, but another cool thing on them is that they have vanguard deployment, so you might prepare an ambush with them, which the enemy doesn't really expect since you are the Empire and usually don't have too much heavy vanguard cav. And if you're lucky, you position it on the enemy skirmish cav and can wreck them. The Demigriffins are your basic lead cav, while they got a bit of a debuff since their hit points stayed the same but their models got higher, and which significantly reduces the hit points per unit. But still they have a heavy armor, good melee stats, and a good charge bonus like every cav. Have a bit more mass than basic cavalry, I guess. And also are armor piercing, which is neat. And they cause fear, which is one of the few sources of fear for the Empire. Then for the Demigriffin Knights with halberds, they are basically the anti-large variant, I'd say. Yeah, the only real thing is that they have a bit worse stats, but therefore a bonus against large, and let's see, 35 and 39, therefore a bit less AP damage, which you might not want to have, but their bonus against large is quite high, so yeah, against big monsters and other cav they usually do a great deal, especially against elite cav. And then for the Royal Altdorf Griffites, which are the elite variant of the Demigriffin cav, they also get terror and naturally better stats for a lower price than they usually would have to be leveled up to level 9. Yeah. And then for the ranged cav, we have the Pistoliers, basic light cavalry, with a okayish missile damage, which mostly comes from their rate of fire, but they have nearly none armor piercing potential, and rather short range, but they can fire while moving and have vanguard deployment, but they really are useless against heavy infantry or cavalry, heavy troops in general, even if they don't have too high armor, which comes from their 2 shots, since, yeah, every shot get reduced, but that's another thing. And their low percentage of the armor piercing damage. Also their ammunition is quite low, yeah. Then for the next cav we have the Outriders for a bit more money. They are shown to have the same double the missile damage as the handgunners, but they are only 2/3 of the size, and again, they mostly have that because they have a higher rate of fire than the handgunners, which is quite good for cavalry. The thing is, I think the Pistoliers have a 360 firing arc, while these only can shoot forward, so fire when moving they can move into the direction of the target and shoot it, but not run away from it, I guess. I didn't bring them in the last few battles I had with the Empire, so I'm not sure about it anymore. And they have vanguard deployment, so you can use them as an ambush force or a skirmish cav right before the enemy could react. And then for the next troops, they are a bit fewer and they can't attack air, but they have grenade launchers. Outriders with grenade launchers, yes. Which means they are basically anti-light infantry with a lot of AP, not AP, spreading damage, which also deals some AP damage, which is good, I guess. And usually pretty efficient against masses of infantry. If your enemy clumps up, kill them with them. So yeah, that's about it. And now to one of the other hard parties of the Empire, hardcore whatever, are the artillery and war machines. There we have the mortars, pretty cheap artillery, which isn't really good at focus fire, but can deal some damage against infantry hordes and so on. It also doesn't have a too high direct damage, but also not too much armor piercing damage. As for the great cannons, we have quite high ranged cannon. I think it's one of the best artilleries if it comes to range. I think it had a wider farther range than drop cannons, so yeah, if you want to outrange drop, these might be your choice. But they really shine against big targets like cavalry or giants, just because they are good at focus fire and have a kinda good accuracy. Now for the Hammer of Witches, the elite version of the Great Cannon costs like 50% more and has magic damage, a bit more damage all over, and has physical resistance if you want to have your cannon a bit more tanky, which might prove useful if your enemy uses, for example, free company militia to get into your backline, or outriders and shoot at your artillery. Yeah. But don't be fooled, they really don't do good in a melee fight. Then for the Hellblaster volley gun, they have a way shorter range, well, somewhat shorter range, about 33% shorter, and they have kind of a high missile damage here, but the damage per single missile isn't that high, but it shoots 9 projectiles per volley, so it cuts through infantry pretty good, but it also can be used to focus fire bigger targets, so it's more of an all-around artillery. But again, it has a short range, so against other artillery it will have to close the gap of range difference. Then for the Hellstorm rocket battery, we have again something like the mortar, which is mostly good against large amounts of infantry, since it shoots multiple rockets which explode on target and do mostly non-armor piercing damage. Yeah. Thought it did fire damage. Huh. Funny. The Sunmaker at least deals fire damage. It has way less ammunition as it seems, but it fires a lot more projectiles per volley. So you usually burn through your ammunition way faster before the enemy really can do anything against it, which is a key part of artillery. They may not fire their whole rounds in battle, which if the enemy brought some flanking forces, cavalry, or sneaky backstabbers like the Free Company Militia or Outriders or whatsoever. Yeah, also to deal fire damage, keep that in mind when we get to the commanders. Then for the Luminarch of Hysh, it's basically single target cannon with a lot of armor piercing damage, and yeah. The thing is, it's very accurate and the projectile is pretty fast, so it's usually used to snipe bigger targets and lords. Yes, even lords. And it can deal significant damage if you manage to angle it from the side. Also, it's quite fast for an artillery and gives your troops close to it magical resistance if you face off against, for example, tree spirits. And it has this thing which basically reduces power recharge of your enemies if your enemies are close to it. Which is also nice if you fight against casters. So basically that's one of your anti-caster artillery piece if you want to. Then we have the steam tank, which is unbreakable and it causes terror, again a pretty rare thing for the Empire. And it's counted as a big unit. It's basically a tank. It has a main cannon which can be shot, but that's not its main function, and against other artillery it really sucks since the other artillery shoots it down with a few shots, and yeah, that usually does not really work well. It also doesn't have the artillery range of the great cannon, but still a pretty high range. But the main strength of the steam tank is that it has 160 armor, which is, I believe, the highest armor in the game, and is unbreakable, has a really good speed. It can be used as a chariot really efficiently, and it also has a little turret on top which shoots steam, but you really can't control it, but it does his deal of damage against infantry. Then for the elite version of the Luminarch of Fish is the Temple of Luminarch, which has a bit more damage, I guess, and also comes with an encouragement aura, as well as the innate spell of Net of Amintok whatsoever, and 3 reloads of this, so it basically can get away from enemies by netting them and stop enemy charges, stop enemies commanders. It's a very cheesy unit, I suppose, because if you get close enough that it can net you or a commander, it can basically deal with it in a few shots. Unimportant which commander it is. Well, I think one of the Beastman commanders, the legendary lord Morgur Shadowgrave, has a high missile resistance, an innate, so that's where it would probably use a lot of shots to keep him down. Would have to use a lot of shots to keep him down. So, and for the next part we'll do the generals and heroes. For the generals we have the basic general of the Empire, which can come with the basic war horse for speed, on foot naturally, barded warhorse for a bit more armor and speed, Imperial Pegasus for flying, but it has less armor than the barded warhorse. Since it is a flying unit, it probably can't wear too much armor. And then again the Imperial Griffin, on which he loses his shield resistance, but gains armor piercing damage as well as extra damage as well as terror. For the abilities we have the Hold the Line ability, which basically has the moral and gives expert charge resistance, which is pretty neat, I'd say. Also on the Griffin it gets this Blood Roar ability, which also lowers the leadership of the enemy close to it. Then he has Foe Seeker, Foe Seeker, I don't really have to tell what it does. And Stand Your Ground, which is a melee buff for close allies. For items it has the Charmed Shield, which gives damage resistance, and Missile Parry, which is especially useful if you're on a Griffin. And Rune Fang, which basically gives you more attack damage, and yeah, it's for sniping purposes. And then for the next lord we have the Archlector, who can only go on foot, with a warhorse or with a barded warhorse again for more armor, while his basic armor is quite high. He comes with a lot of support spells and one AoE attack spell around himself, and it also grants magic resistance to allies, so they don't have to fear the bombardment spell coming down around him, which is neat. Then again, he can give damage resistance to allies and attacks kill to allies, and reduces the cast chance, so raises the miscast chance of enemy casters close to him, which is especially potent against vampires like Vlad, if you fear him. And then the leadership buff to allies close to him. For items, he has the Crown of Command, which can give himself or an ally unbreaking for a short amount of time, 25 seconds, which can be useful depending, but it's only 123, so yeah. And you can use it all 90 seconds. So if you have unit shortly, just a bit of, just a bit of moral left, and it's kind of an important unit, you can give that to them and they are happy, yay! And the Maze of Hailstorm to be exact, which gives him basically a melee buff for a short amount of time to hero snipe. Also it gives him fire damage, so heroes with regeneration or units with regeneration are hit way harder with that. Yeah. And then we have here Balthazar Geld. He can go on foot or on the Imperial Pegasus. When after the next faction arrives, the patch hits where the starting positions and all things get fixed, he might again have the horse option. The thing is, on the Imperial Pegasus, if the enemy brings some flyers, you basically cut up, especially if you don't brought any ranged troops. So you have to be careful about that, but on the Imperial Pegasus he is quite fast, so yeah, he can use that. Also he comes with evasion, so additional melee defense and speed. And he has metal shifting as the lore of metal user, which is a lore specific, which gives additional damage and armor piercing damage. It's quite a neat ability. Then for Arcane Conduit, is a good thing because he can use it again and again, which makes him a better caster lord. You also may bring him but none of his abilities and another caster if you want to have another caster cast more. Yeah, probably not. And he comes with a basic law of metal spells. I don't have to really say anything about them. I'll only go there if there are any special lore combinations or special spells they have, the leaders or heroes. And he comes with a Staff of Wallon, again an item which can increase your wins reserve and recharge rate, which is good for casters. Then we have Boris Todbringer. You unlock him by completing the Wood Elven campaign, where I'm not sure if you have to if you play him in Warhammer Total War Warhammer 2. Yeah. He can come on foot on a barded warhorse. He has no normal Imperial Pegasus and an Imperial Griffin. He has a bit better stats than the General of the Empire, if we compare it, yeah. And he also comes with this Crush the Weak, which is an ability of his, which is basically a debuff around him on attack skill and leadership, yeah. He comes with Foe Seeker and Deadly Onslaught. He doesn't have the defensive buff of the General of the Empire, except Hold the Line. But he is more of a sniping character. And then for his items he has the White Cloak of Ulrich, which basically reduces the abilities of enemies to flee in combat and makes him an even better either frontline supporter or hero sniper. And the last thing is his the Middenland Runefang. Well, mixing up German and English again, and it doesn't really help my pronunciation. And it gives him basically regeneration without fire weakness. Yeah. Then for Karl Franz, he has the same mount options as the Empire General of the Empire, but his unique Griffin is called Deathclaw, and I think, yeah, he has the same basic abilities, but he has the Reichland Runefang, which deals melee, which basically gives him a huge melee buff, and his allies are close to him. And he has Galmaras, which again makes him a good sniper, since it massively boosts his AP damage. And for the last hero we have Volkmar the Grim, who has a Warhorse, a Barded Warhorse, or the War Altar of Sigmar, his special chariot on which he gets a few additional buffs. I'll go to that later. He basically comes with the abilities of the Arc Lector. Yep. And also has the Jade Griffin, which gives him life replenishment over time, so regeneration. And he also can get the banishment spell when he is on his chariot, but I guess he also gets, wait a moment, yeah, terror, and here, no, which one does he get? I think, yeah, he gets unbreakable. That's it. So much for the lords. Now to the heroes. The Empire Captain is a basic, well, frontline melee supporter. He has Holds the Line, which is nice if you don't took a lord which has Holds the Line. And also Foe Seeker, as well as for items he can go with a Potion of Fully Hardness, which gives him unbreakable if you need that. And the Sword of Anti-Heroes, which basically raises his sniping potential. For mounts he has the Warhorse, the Barded Warhorse, and the Imperial Pegasus. Then we have the Witch Hunter, which comes with Slippery as an assassin class, and Accusation, which is a single target damage spell, basically like Spirit Leech. And yeah, he is for sniping. He has a missile attack, which can be hindered since it needs a straight line. But he can also do something in melee. He's not a good melee general hero, but he can deal with a few troops. Then he has the Skull of Katam available to him, which basically is against casters because it hinders the recharge rate, and the Opal Amulet to give him a bit of survivability in battle. The Warrior Priest is really low armored for the fact that he is basically wearing plate armor. Yeah, that mostly changed when he goes on his Warhorse. He also has a basic Warhorse, not only a barded one. And he basically has the abilities of the Arc Lector, but not for some of them doesn't affect the whole area, just himself. Like the Hammer of Sigma, and yeah, the Hammer of Sigma just affects himself. He comes with the Banner of Eternal Flame, which is a really nice banner, since it gives close allied troops plus an additional bonus to fire damage, and gives them fire damage, as well as the Scroll of Power, which is good if you want to use abilities, but it has 100% miscast, so if you want to pop one of them, all of them really fast again, you can use that. Yeah. Then we have the wizards of the different laws. They're mostly the same, I guess, for their items and mount options, except the Amber Wizard. He has a special mount option. Yep, they are mostly the same, just have different laws of magic. The Grey Wizard has the lore of shadows, and for items they have the Channeling Staff, which gives ability recharge rate, and the Stone of Power, which is a one-use arca in Conduit basically. The special thing about the Jade Wizard, Amber Wizard, is that he can come with a Griffin. So if you want an additional Griffin in your army, he might be your choice to take. Yeah. Also, Amber Wizard is for lore of beasts, Jade Wizard is for lore of light, Light Wizard is for lore of light. Sorry. Bright Wizard is for lore of fire, which really goes well with all the fire attacks and attack items you can get, and the Celestial Wizard is for the lore of heaven. So, there we have it, my short opinion for the Empire. Unit roster, they have a lot of mages. If I had to rate their roster, they have mediocre line of infantry, so I'll give that on a scale from... well, let's go with the A, B, C, D rating. The basic line of infantry, including ranged combatants, is probably about B. They have basically everything you need, but nothing too special. For the cavalry, they'll get something like an A- or an A. They have a lot of heavy cavalry, but they are missing a bit more mobile shock cavalry. Yes, they have the ranged cavalry, a good variety of that, but not too much crazy ranged cavalry. But their demigriffins are really far on top, so they probably earn an A- on that. And for artillery, they probably earn an A, artillery and war machines, since they have a whole lot of them and basically for all purposes one. So yeah, if you like artillery, the Empire might be something for you. And for legendary lords, that's a bit difficult to rate, so I won't do that. But for heroes, and especially for magic, they have all classes of heroes except close combat duelists, which also make them somewhat on A, which makes the Empire pretty basic, good basic faction. Yeah. I hope you either agree or disagree. Well, these are the two options. Well, you could have no real opinion about it, but I hope it could help you or entertain you or something. Well, have fun with it. Have a nice day and bye.